Hi guys, my name is Marie and welcome to my Kawaii world. So this video is going to be all about Japanese wagashi or Japanese sweets. When you think of wagashi, you typically think of the beautiful kind that are used in Japanese tea ceremonies. But there are actually so many different kinds, including some that you can buy at the convenience store and Sanrio Pudoland. And in this video, I'm going to take you on a special wagashi tour of Japan and share with you some of my favorite traditional as well as modern sweet treats and teas. But first, I want to give a big thank you to Buyee, who is sponsoring this video. If you're not familiar with Buyee, they're basically a proxy service. So a lot of times when you want to purchase things online from Japanese websites, you need to have a Japanese address to receive the packages. And Buyee will act as your proxy so that you can actually purchase those things online, have them shipped to a Japanese address, and Buyee will consolidate all of your purchases into one package and then send that off to you no matter where you live in the world. So there are fees involved, but this can be a great option if you really want to buy some things in Japan but you can't travel to Japan at this time, or if you know somebody who really loves Japanese culture and you want to buy them an extra special gift. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this wagashi video. There are some kinds of wagashi that you can only really eat in Japan. These are fresh confections and they have a moisture level of 30% or more, and they're very perishable, so they should be refrigerated and consumed the same day or the next day. So I'm going to talk about some of my favorite namagashi, and not all of them are fancy. A lot of them you can get at a supermarket or even better at the conveyor belt sushi restaurant for only $1. I think my favorite wagashi is Wadabi Mochi, and this is a jelly that is cut into cubes and then they coat it with kinako powder or soybean powder and they drizzle black sugar syrup on top called kuromitsu. It's so delicious and refreshing. This Wadabi Mochi from 7-Eleven has the kuromitsu inside of the mochi itself. I also really love Mirachashi Dango, which are sweet chewy rice balls that are skewered on a stick and then covered with a sweet soy sauce glaze. You can buy these at the supermarket for super cheap and they are really amazing. At Japanese summer festivals, you can also get another kind of dango, which is very similar, but this one is grilled on a stick, so it's hot, and then you can have it glazed in either a soy sauce glaze or a miso glaze, and this is savory but a touch sweet. It's so delicious. This is my favorite snack to get at Japanese summer festivals. If you've ever been to Japanese summer festivals, then make sure to leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite food is. Daigaku imo is another favorite. This is basically deep fried sweet potatoes coated with a sweet sticky syrup and topped with black sesame seeds. Taiyaki is a fish-shaped cake that's filled with red bean or custard or chocolate. I love the croissant version that they have here, and in some places they make their own special shapes, like in Kamakura we got this Buddha-shaped taiyaki. I guess you wouldn't call it a taiyaki because it's not shaped like the Thai or the sea bream. And then even better, I think, than the taiyaki are these castella balls. And I think that the batter is very similar, but these ones are just little crispy balls and they don't have a filling, and since they're smaller, there's more area for the crispiness. And I don't really like the filling sometimes because I think that red bean or custard can be a little too sweet. So for me, these are actually perfect. You can get these at Japanese festivals like summer festivals, and at this one we are at a New Year's Day festival at a Buddhist temple. Dorayaki are these sweet honey pancakes that are filled with red bean. Not all of the dorayaki have Snoopy on it. That one was from Snoopy Chaya in Kyoto. Nerikiri are the confections that you imagine when you think of wagashi. They're made with white bean paste and they're really gorgeous and made to reflect the seasons. Miss Wagashi on Instagram has some really gorgeous creations, so you guys should check her out. Sakura Mochi is really pretty, but I'm really not a fan of the way it tastes. It's easy to get mochi and manju confused. Manju is steamed or baked with cake flour, whereas mochi is made with rice flour. Han namagashi has a lower moisture level than namagashi, and it can be preserved a little bit longer. So some examples of this are yokan jelly, which is a red bean jelly that I don't really like, and monaka, which is kind of like a cookie that has red beans sandwiched between two thin rice wafers. Higashi are wagashi that have a moisture level of 10% or less, and these are the most shelf stable out there, but they still have an expiration date. This is the best kind of confection to buy online because it's less likely to go bad. Believe it or not, you can actually purchase a lot of wagashi online, and I was able to order some from Buyee, and they provided me with this for free. Just want to disclose that, but I cannot wait to share some of this with you. It is gorgeous. So the item that I was most looking forward to getting was this box from Ginza Kikunoya. And Ginza Kikunoya was founded in 1890 in Ginza, and they have the most amazing gift boxes of wagashi. First of all, let's open this how a Japanese person would, which is to not destroy the wrapping paper. You want to open it very carefully. I grew up in the US, so my instinct is to just rip open a package like it's Christmas morning. But after I moved to Japan and watched my friends open their gifts, I tried to be a little bit more careful with the wrapping. And especially when I'm opening something that's super Japanese and super delicate like this, I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I love the attention to detail that people put into gift wrapping in Japan. Sometimes I feel like the gift wrapping is just as important as the gift itself. I mean, look at the quality of this box. Even the paper that they use to sort of seal this box feels like that nice quality handmade paper that you can buy at, I don't know, paper stores or something. And they have this pretty gold seal on it, and I don't think I could open it without just ripping up that paper, so I'm just gonna cut it open with my knife since I have it handy. And finally we've arrived at the cookie box itself. So I got the Fukiyose box, which means gathering fortune, and this is basically a jewel box. This is their most famous item, I think. They included this little pamphlet which shows all of the things that they sell, and they have smaller boxes that are round, but I think that the one I purchased is the largest one, and this one was about 6,500 Japanese yen, which is about 65 US dollars. So if you guys thought that we were going to get right to the cookies, you're wrong. They have this piece of tape around the edge that just seals everything up. Oh, the anticipation. There are so many levels that we had to pass in order to get to the cookies, and now I think we are finally here. It looks like some of the items got a little bit buried, so I'm just touching everything with my clean hands and fixing it so it's Instagram ready. The little brown cookies that fill up most of the box are these lightly sweet, crunchy cookies that are made without butter. The larger, colorful pieces are Japanese sugar candy made of wasonbon, which is fancy sugar, and they are made to reflect the seasons. These have slightly different flavors. The green one has sort of a green tea flavor, and I can't put my finger on what some of the others are. And then the smaller colorful items that look like little snowflakes or stars are called Competo, and these are also really sweet sugar candies. This set also contains a sprinkling of sugar-coated black beans as well as peanuts. When you go to little local wagashi shops in Kakigori or in Kyoto, sometimes you'll find a little selection of these sugar-coated beans or nuts. I think that this box is so fancy and so delicate, and I think this would make such an amazing gift. Everything in here tasted really good, and that's not always the case with some of these items. So one item that I was actually really surprised to learn was considered wagashi is something that I grew up eating as a child, even in the US. And this is something that you can buy in the supermarket, or in Japan they have these more artisanal places that sell senbei. So you can find this at Nishiki Market in Kyoto, and also when you're in Tokyo and walking up the steps to Asakusa Temple, you can see people selling handmade senbei. So I decided to go all out and order a fancy box of Matsuzaki senbei from Amazon JP, and this is a Japanese confectionery shop that's been open for 200 years. They first opened in 1804, and they specialize in these cookies that have seasonal designs on them. So right now it's summertime, so they have motifs with hydrangeas, summer rain and frogs, and lots of beautiful flowers. These cookies are a little bit sweet, but they're not too sweet, and I think that this is perfect to enjoy on a rainy day with a cup of green tea. As with a lot of Japanese snacks, everything comes individually packaged, so that helps to ensure freshness as well as portion control. When you're serving these cookies, you'd probably just put them out on a plate with everything individually wrapped, but I'm just going to unwrap one of each so that you can see what they look like. This one is my favorite. Everything else tastes kind of the same, but this one has peanuts and it's really crispy and sugary, almost like peanut brittle, but it's not that sweet. This box is a little bit over $20 US. So the last box of senbei that I got through Buyee was this one. It's very simple, and these are unsweetened, so I actually really like these. But they're very run-of-the-mill type of crackers that you can get at any grocery store, but they're just packaged really nicely. This one is my favorite. It's extra salty and has a lot of shoyu on it. This is my second favorite because it has large sugar crystals all over it. Just a lightly sweetened soy sauce one, and it's really good. And my fourth favorite is this one with the spices on it. It's a little bit spicy. These crackers are really simple and easy for anyone to eat. They don't have super strong flavors, and they're not really sweet, and I think that they are just great for an everyday snack. So these next two items I thought were really cute. I just found them randomly on Amazon JP when I was browsing around. I don't think it's from a famous store or anything, but I thought that they were really pretty. So the first one is this set of seasonal Japanese sweets, and this won an award for being a great Japanese souvenir. Isn't this just delightful? This is a little rice wafer that contains these pretty little sugared candies, and they're ultra sweet, but I think that this is so gorgeous. So I opened a few of them just to see what was inside. Seasons are really central to Japanese culture, and this set reflects the summer season. So you can see a watermelon and a star and a lot of different summer motifs here. These wagashi were super pretty, but they were way too sweet. Even my kids thought they were too sweet. Is it good? I actually think that some of these are meant to be eaten with a bitter cup of matcha, because sometimes when you're served matcha, you also get a couple of little sugary wagashi. My kids did like the outer wafer part though. The last item that I got through Buyee was this little Nekomonaka set of different types of wagashi. This contains 2 little packs of red bean paste, and then it has this little bell that is basically a sugary candy, and then there are 2 little cat wafers, and these ones are really fun and adorable. Since this is sort of a no-name brand, I wasn't sure how it was going to taste, but it actually tasted fine. The little cats and the paw print are actually jellies, and then it has the little Competo stars. And then you basically just assemble your own monaka. Red bean is a really common ingredient in wagashi, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. It depends on how it's made. But this one was not bad. So basically you just fill up the wafer with red bean, and then you make your own little red bean monaka cat sandwich. And this wasn't super sweet, it was actually quite good, and my kids and I really like this. The Competo are basically just sugar candies, so they're really sweet, but the rest of it was really good. This was the cheapest item out of everything. It was about $14 US, so this one was a really good deal. And it was super cute. We can't talk about wagashi without also talking about tea, so I'm going to briefly talk about some teas that I like. The first item is this multi-pack of 10 different teas from the Japanese brand Mirachashi, and this is a tea shop that's located in Kichijoji, which is about 30 to 45 minutes from central Tokyo. It's about halfway between where I used to live in Japan and Tokyo. So Kichijoji is a really hip neighborhood and there are lots of cute stores there, but I think this tea brand is super adorable. They have a lot of different flavors of teas, and this is sort of a more modern type of Japanese tea, and they include teas like Assam and jasmine, rooibos, oolong, Earl Grey, etc., mixed with different aromas and flavors, including apple, muscat, pineapple, strawberry, etc. This tea has really fun and unique and interesting flavors, and also I think that the packaging is just so insanely adorable. This tea is a little bit more on the pricey side. It ends up being about $1 or more per tea bag, but if you compare that to like your Starbucks cup or even just a bottle of Itoen tea that you buy from the convenience store, it ends up being not too bad. And I think you can get about 2 cups of tea at least using 1 tea bag, maybe 3 cups if you just keep adding water. So if you ever happen to come across this, then maybe you'll know what it is and you can check it out. Like everything in Japan, there are special seasonal flavors at Mirachashi, and I decided to try the juicy pineapple as well as the muscat oolong. And I received both of these for free through Buyee. I tried the pineapple tea with my kids, and when Sienna smelled the scent of the tea, she just loved it. It has such an amazing pineapple aroma. The tea itself is really quite mild and doesn't have too strong of a flavor. I like how it's not sweet, and I love the aroma. I think the aroma is so important. I was really excited about the Muscat tea because I really love Muscat grapes and I also love oolong. And when I made this tea, I made a really big bottle of tea, but I felt like this was just a little too floral for my liking. I think that this tea pairs really well with some of the senbei that I showed you guys. My personal favorite is the pineapple peach. So for some of the sweeter wagashi pieces, you would want to pair it with something that's a little bit more bitter, like matcha tea. And I'm going to show you guys how I like to prepare my matcha. I use a matcha bowl that I got in Japan, but you can also get these online. And then what I do is I put about 1 to 2 teaspoons of matcha into a sifter, and then I sift it out to make sure that there are no chunks. And then I'll add about maybe 3 tablespoons of hot water to the matcha, and then I'll use a matcha whisk, and you whisk the matcha in a zigzagging motion until the tea has become really frothy. And then you can just enjoy your matcha straight from this cup, or you can pour it over a glass of milk to make a matcha latte. You can add sweetener or some fats to it to give it a little bit more substance, but I like to drink matcha just plain without any milk or sweeteners. For something more low maintenance, I love the Itoen green tea that you could buy from the convenience store. It has a unique flavor that I really love. And then there's also this tea that you can get. This is by Itoen, and this is a mix of matcha with regular green tea leaves, and this is just a regular tea bag. Super low maintenance, but surprisingly good. They also make a genmai cha version. Genmai cha is brown rice mixed with green tea, and it sort of gives the green tea a nutty flavor to it. It's really good, especially during the winter time. If you compare the two tea bags, the genmai cha looks like it's a little bit more crushed up than the regular green tea one does, but they're both really good. Actually, when I'm comparing these two, I like the green tea one better than the genmai cha. Here's another bag of genmai cha that I just cut open. You can see the little grains of dried brown rice in there mixed with the green tea leaves. This is Sencha, and this is fresh Japanese green tea. The difference between matcha and Sencha is that matcha is crushed up and it's grown in the shade, whereas Sencha has been grown in the sun and you have these whole dried tea leaves. When you're preparing this, you want to have some kind of tea strainer, so I'll either use my teami cup, which has a built-in tea strainer, or I will use my teapot, which has a tea strainer that is built into a spout, or you could just use a regular tea strainer. There are a lot of cute ones out there. Hojicha is roasted green tea, and I wish I had a sample of this, but I don't. It's really good and it has a brown color to it. And finally, Mugicha is roasted barley tea. This is a non-caffeinated tea that is really great to drink in the summer. It's so refreshing when you drink it cold, and it's supposed to have all kinds of health benefits. So now I wanted to talk about a few other desserts that I don't know if they're necessarily considered wagashi, but they're kind of related and I think they're worth mentioning. Green tea ice cream. In Japan, green tea ice cream is so rich and has such a deep matcha flavor. It is really something that's special and unique, and I really haven't tasted this kind of rich matcha flavor anywhere else outside of Japan. In Tokyo, near Asakusa, there is a shop called Suzukian, which serves multiple grades of green tea ice cream. There's a really rich dark one and there's a lighter one, and they also have flavors like black sesame, which I really love. I've seen places that tried to imitate this in Korea, and nothing is really quite as good as Suzukian. So if you guys are ever in this area, I definitely recommend checking it out. There are also random wagashi shops. There's one that was near my old house that served these matcha ice cream bars and also a matcha cup, and this is also really, really good. The green tea flavor is so rich and delicious. There's also the matcha soft serve, and they put it in a parfait, or you can just have it plain on a cone. This also has a really rich matcha flavor. And then we have Kakigori. Do you guys recognize this sign? This is a sign for shaved ice, and if you haven't had shaved ice in Japan, I definitely recommend it. It's pretty next level. There are the cheaper kinds that just use syrup. A common flavor is melon, which is really good, or you can get the fresh kakigori, which uses fresh ingredients. I love a really good matcha shaved ice. Sometimes they'll add a scoop of matcha ice cream and some mochi balls and also red azuki beans to make it extra special. And I've also had a hojicha, or roasted green tea shaved ice, that was super good. I want to give an honorable mention to some other desserts. There's ramune, which is the Japanese marble soda, but there are a lot of different ramune desserts in Japan, and it's one of my favorite summer flavors. I also really like coffee jelly. You can get this at the convenience store or at sometimes buffets, but I love coffee jelly, especially during the summer. You can eat it plain, or you can have it with cream on top. Either way, it's really delicious and refreshing. Another kind of unique Japanese flavor that I really love is black sesame. There is this shop in Kawagoe that sells black sesame ice cream, and this is just next level amazing. I love black sesame ice cream. They also sell these black sesame fudge cubes that are so decadent and so delicious. And I believe I've seen these online on Amazon JP. And finally, Japan has all these different gift boxes of individually wrapped snacks that you can give to people as a souvenir. Tokyo Banana, I think, is probably one of the more famous ones. This is kind of like a banana cake with banana custard inside. They also have strawberry versions. Personally, I'm not super into Tokyo banana, but let me know if you guys want to see a more detailed video on some of these more westernized Japanese snacks. Let me know in the comments what your favorite wagashi is, and as always, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to my Patreons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it.